I do feel a bit distant because I'm not on social media, and it's almost like I've left this whole other world.
Hey guys, it's Chloe, and today I'm going to be sharing with you 5 things that I learned during my digital declutter. So first off, what is a digital declutter? Well, it's basically like a month-long social media detox. The idea is that for 30 days, you take away the optional technologies in your life. So Facebook, Instagram, Netflix, whatever that may look like for you. And after the 30 days, you reintroduce these technologies back into your life in a way that provides the most value to you. So the idea comes from Newport's book, Digital Minimalism. It basically talks about just being more intentional with the technology that you let into your life and how you use it. And if you haven't read it, I highly recommend you get yourself a copy because it really gets you to think about your relationship with your phone and with social media in general. So before we get into what I learned from the challenge, what exactly did my digital declutter involve? What apps and websites did I restrict myself from using? So here's a list of rules that I made for myself. I had 4 categories: apps and websites that I was 100% completely banned from using, ones which I was allowed to access on my computer but banned from using on my phone, ones that were allowed with no restrictions, and lastly, apps and sites which I was allowed to access with specific restrictions on usage. So bear in mind that this list is very tailored to me. So if you want to undertake your own declutter, you need to think about what apps are absolutely critical for you to keep and which ones you could probably do without for a month. So the way to do this, the way to work this out, or the way I chose to do it, is you make a list of all the technologies that you use in your life and why. Once you have your list, you can start working out your rules. You just go down sort of each item and decide whether you want to completely ban the technology, allow it, or allow it with specific restrictions. So for me, I pretty much banned almost all social media platforms because these were the services I felt like I was just wasting a lot of time on without getting much value back in return. Any infinity pool, so like an endless feed of content, I would probably recommend that you ban that or at least have strict rules or time restrictions for usage. So on the other end of the scale, apps like FaceTime and Skype, I didn't put any restrictions on usage. And this is because I never really regret spending time on these services. Okay, so let's get into what I learned from the digital declutter. The first thing is that I didn't miss out on anything important. And now the keyword here is important. Like, of course I missed out on things. If you're off social media for a month, of course there are going to be things that you're not in the loop with. But it wasn't anything crucial. I maybe missed on being tagged in a few memes or some posts from my friends, but it was nothing that I needed to know the second it happened. So all that stuff, when I logged onto Facebook or Instagram a month later, it was still there waiting for me. It wasn't as time critical as you would think. And I generally didn't feel like my social life was negatively impacted by me not being constantly connected. In fact, I'm pretty sure I didn't miss out on any important social events. And the key thing here is prep. So I didn't just make the list of rules and then 2 seconds later delete all the apps and be like, okay, I'm starting my digital declutter. Like, I planned it a little in advance. So anyone that I was sort of communicating with regularly through social media, especially, the platforms I banned, I just let them know, and then we could organize our hangs through text and it was fine.
I'm now 2 days in. I do have this tendency to keep picking up my phone and sort of scrolling through the pages, even though there's actually nothing to check. I feel like that habit will go away eventually.
Now, the second thing I learned during my declutter was that it was such a peaceful time. It was kind of like a massive weight was lifted off my shoulders. I didn't have like a million apps to check all the time. I didn't have to think, oh, I need to reply to this person on Messenger and check this group chat on WhatsApp and check my emails because maybe a new one came through in the last half hour. There was none of that at all. It was literally just texting, just one little icon on my phone that I could use to either send or receive information to other people. And I just can't express enough how relaxing it is to just have one app rather than like 10. So that definitely made things less stressful. It was just very streamlined, I guess, and yeah, very relaxing. And what also happens is that life, it kind of slows down a little. So often in your day, you might have a lot of little moments of downtime, like usually when you're waiting in line for something or for a bus or a train. Those were the moments when you kind of pull out your phone by reflex and start, tapping or scrolling away. And now, like, without all the distracting apps on my phone, there was nothing to really do on it. So I found myself kind of observing the world around me more and just like taking things in that I didn't otherwise notice. I guess it sounds a bit cliche, but you end up kind of living in the moment more. There isn't like this alternate reality that you can, access from your pocket or from the palm of your hand. So you end up kind of just living in this reality more and like being present in the time and place that you are, rather than being distracted by other things. So yeah, that was an amazing feeling.
I'm now about a week and a half into the digital declutter, and to be honest, I'm not missing social media all that much. I'm WhatsApping less, I don't have Facebook Messenger, so everything's kind of pushed to me texting more, but I've tried to keep it so that most of the conversations are about setting up meetings in real life as opposed to just having a conversation through text. That's one of the things that Cal Newport touched on in his book, is like conversation versus connection. So I want to kind of aim to have like proper conversations in real life, and I want to use social media, I guess, as a tool. Most of the times it's texting about, like what time we're meeting tomorrow.
So the third thing that I learned is that checking social media or email on your computer as opposed to your phone is a lot more efficient. And this was mentioned by Cal Newport in the book as well. But it's not until I lived it for myself that the point really hit home. If you restrict your social media usage to just your computer, it gives you the benefits of keeping up to date without the temptation of constant checking. And the reason for this is, well, number one, the obvious size restriction. So even if you have like the smallest laptop, it's never going to compare to a phone that you can sort of pull out of your pocket and just access anywhere on the go. The second reason is that apps on your phone like Facebook and Instagram are way more addictive than their desktop equivalent. So things like push notifications, attention grabbing colors, and pull to refresh mechanisms, all these things contribute to making the apps more addictive. But what you can do is you bypass all of that. You can access these services on your computer through a web browser, and then you get the benefits of the technology with less of the addictiveness that comes with it.
I think sometimes you try and make excuses almost for keeping the app on your phone, like because it helps you with this one little thing, it makes it like more convenient for that. But to be honest, in the end, like that one small inconvenience kind of isn't worth keeping the app off your phone.
It would be useful to have sort of those barriers in place to not fall into the trap of checking, an app like Instagram every single moment that I get bored or that I want to fill up a small space of time.
Another reason why accessing social media on your computer is great is that it makes it easier for batching. So batching allows you to set a specific time of the day or a specific day of the week where you go through, whatever social media or email inboxes that you need to go through.
Most of the time, unless it's something urgent, the messages that you receive, it's not worth kind of interrupting your day. It's actually a lot better to just see all those messages in one go.
Batching lets you set your own schedule for when you want to do things. So rather than letting the notifications on your phone dictate, when you're going to use these services, you flip it around and you take back the control, and you can design a schedule that works for you and your priorities. And that leads me on to the next point, which is that the declutter made me so much more in control of my own time. So to put it simply, when I set aside time to do something, I actually got it done. And this might seem like, obvious, like, well, yeah, like that's how things work. But I can't count the number of times before when I've set aside time to do something and then I pick up my phone for no apparent reason and I just get completely sidetracked by one notification. During the declutter, I was able to stick to schedule so much easier because I didn't have all these distractions to pull me away.
It's now 2.5 weeks in. The hardest thing I found so far is probably just when I'm like coming home and I can't just collapse onto my bed and start going through all the social media apps. I have to actually do something productive. It makes me get quicker to the stuff I need to be doing, like cooking dinner, and then just getting on with my night. So I find that I'm wasting a lot less time.
From all this time that I've had, because I haven't been on social media, I've been able to, instead of consume content, create. I do want to focus sort of creating content as opposed to always just consuming. So hopefully, this will be one of the positive outcomes that this digital declutter has created.
So my fifth and final point is that the declutter wasn't as instantly life-changing as I expected. Now, this may seem a bit contradictory to all the things I've just said, and I do want to clarify here. The experiment did change my life for the better, and I would highly recommend it. But it wasn't as much of an extreme transformation as I thought, and I think that's for a couple of reasons. The first is that I've kind of been slowly easing off my social media usage.
There are certain things that I already had in place before starting the challenge, so it meant that I was already kind of used to using social media less.
But I think if you were to go from sort of heavy social media usage down to like almost zero, that probably would have a greater initial impact on you. The second reason is that I sort of had this perception that things would instantly change. And I think it was this notion of instant change that was kind of skewing my idea of what's the most important. And I needed to remember that change takes time. So whilst the declutter did have positive effects while I was undertaking it, I think the greatest value earned from it is the long-term effects that it's going to have on my life. So I'm now equipped with the knowledge and living proof that one can survive without being constantly connected, without needing to reply to emails or messages the second they come in, and without needing to know the trivial updates that are happening in people's lives every second of every day. And this may seem kind of obvious at first, like I think we all know this, but sometimes our behavior doesn't always align with this. And I think it's experiments like these that really get us to reconsider our defaults and how we want to be spending our time. That's it from me today. Thank you guys so much for sticking around and watching this. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe, do all that YouTube-y stuff. And if you're interested in more videos on digital minimalism or sort of how to better manage your relationship with social media or your phone, I'll probably be making more of these style of videos because I find it to be a really super fascinating topic to talk about. In the meantime, I highly recommend you check out Yes Theory, Sorella Moore and Matt Devella's videos on social media detoxes, as I found them to be super inspiring. But of course, as interesting as it is to see other people's experiences during challenges like these, you never really know how it will impact on your life until you try it out for yourself.